Innovation, imagination, wonder. These are just some of the words used to describe Dr. Harvey Passes. Dr. Passes explores interesting people and ideas that will stimulate you. He questions the people who develop, create, and employ novel concepts in business and everyday lives. He especially loves to speak with successful people. How did they do it? How can you do it too? So let's join Dr. Harvey Passes in his quest of wonder and curiosity as we watch Dr. Harvey Passes Presents.
Okay, no kidding around. Get a pencil, get paper, be seated. Don't move after you're ready to go, because today's show is going to be something that is going to scare you, shock you, and make you come to your senses. We're talking about how prepared are you for any kind of a disaster, for a severe disruption in your life, be it a hurricane, be it a bomb, be it a terrorist act, be it so many different things. And I have with me today someone you've met in the past. He's a brilliant individual, and I'm going to read a little bit about him for you so that you'll refresh your memory about this interesting individual whose name is Hank Boerner. And he's going to tell us a lot. First, let me bring him back to you, and then we'll get everything going. Hank, great to have you here.
Good to be here.
Little
I'm leaving now. I'm frightened.
You're
leaving.
You should be. This is a frightening show. This is a scary show. I mean, even Halloween is around the corner. This beats that any day. Let me tell the folks a little bit about your background and then what we're going to be talking about today. And if anyone has the desire to click us off, boy, are they making a big mistake, or they're very foolhardy, or they're scared. First, Hank Boerner is a Long Island resident who for the past 30 years has been one of the nation's most involved and best known person on issues and crisis managers. He's one of the top issues and crisis management person around. Hank has been a key player in many high-profile cases involving aircraft disasters, food poisoning, chemical plant explosions, terror attacks on facilities, train wrecks, and more. And that's just in your house. Okay, Hank was the first responder for American Airlines here in New York on September 11th, 2001, spending 5 days at the three major airports, I remember, and counseling management. I remember you doing all this stuff. 2 months later, he responded when American Airlines Flight 587 went down in Jamaica Bay. Remember that one? And he supported Mayor Giuliani, Mayor-elect Bloomberg, Governor Pataki, and the CEO of American Airlines with their press communications. His base of operations is in Mineola, where he and his team maintain a tech center for clients for emergency response. He has served as head of communications for the Long Island Railroad and the New York Stock Exchange and has counseled clients in more than 300 critical issues and crisis situations in the U.S., Mexico, Latin America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, everywhere. Years ago, I would call him up. He would be in Belgium. He's all over the place, this guy. Today, we're going to talk with Hank about personal safety, things that relate to us on a daily basis, the nature of risks, how we can manage these risks, and about protecting yourself and your family while you're at home, at work, at school, while traveling, and in public locations. Now let's get down to it. That was pretty dramatic. Was that?
I'm frightened to death.
Yeah, you should be. You should be. What was it like on the morning of American Airlines Flight 87 going down in Jamaica Bay? What happened? There's a big shock to the system. And everything.
There was. I was on duty. 9/11, I responded. American Airlines was our client. I used to be American Airlines PR manager in New York. So 30
Public
years.
relations.
Yeah, 30 years later, I'm still serving them as a resource. I rushed to Kennedy Airport that morning, and we closed the terminal. Then we went to Newark. I couldn't get in, but they closed the terminal inside. Then I went back to LaGuardia, and all through 9/11 that day until midnight, I kept driving around taking care of things.
Right.
That day was awful because I went over the Verrazano. I kept driving through the cloud, the smoke coming out of the World Trade Center.
The asbestos.
And the next day, and then by Sunday night, the flights were coming back in and were pretty normal, and we closed down our watch. Now, 2 months later, I'm sitting in my office Mineola, and the phone. Someone comes running in and says, "Another plane is down. Americans down in the bay. The terrorists got another plane." That's all the information I had. So I got in my car.
Oh, God.
20 minutes later, I was at the airport. The Red Cross, the police, Port Authority, everyone had responded and had already set up the hotel as a safety zone. I don't know if you're aware of what the Red Cross does. They create a safety zone around the airport and say, this is a privacy zone around this hotel. Nobody in or out except families, survivors, and caregivers, psychologists, priests, rabbis,
Dentists.
everybody comes in. Huh?
Dentists.
Right. Doctors,
Yeah, man.
EMT, ambulances roll, and as the families were coming back, some of them had just left the airport. As they were coming back and came in, they were taken care of by extraordinary, dedicated people. Giuliani showed up, the mayor at the time, because this was 2 days after the election. Mayor-elect Bloomberg, Governor Pataki, and so my job during the day was to take care of them. I just want to say something extraordinary that I saw with Giuliani, and this is not political. We set up a war room, as it's usually called, and everybody was in there, and the police guard that so that the mayor and the governor and everyone can coordinate, gather information, stay away from everyone. 4 times during that day, until about 8 o'clock at night, Mayor Giuliani would jump up and say, by himself, he'd jump up and say, "We're going inside." And the governor and everybody would run after him.
So he took the lead, and everybody just tailed behind.
Into the big room, the ballroom at the hotel,
Right.
which had about 400 people, all seated at tables. They were being administered by rabbis and priests and Baptist ministers and everyone. And he would go and he met every person in that room, every person. He would hug the family. Some would beat on his chest. They were so angry and distraught. And he would comfort them. He would speak to them and go all the way around and then go back inside and sort of collapse like, wow.
Right.
4 times. It was an extraordinary thing that he did. And I think 9/11, the events of September 11th, probably set him up. So this just sent a systematic shock through all of us. Could this happen again? And, of course, it turned out that there was some other cause for the plane going down.
Right, it wasn't terrorist inspired.
The first thing was that someone shot it down from a boat in Jamaica Bay.
Yeah, I remember that. So it's 6 years now.
Yeah.
Since the 9/11 catastrophe. What have we learned? What have we learned as a government, and what have we learned as a people?
We are vulnerable as a government, as a people, as individuals, that each of us, when we travel, may be in a war zone. Now, the little nation of Israel has lived with this for years.
Since its inception.
They tell their people, you are a combatant, because the world is, an unsafe place if you're an Israeli, generally. So if you travel, be careful. And the El Al Airlines are the security is the best in the world. We have improved a great deal. There's not been another attack, although many attempts,
which you're going to talk about later from some of your resources.
Yeah, but there's an incident every day somewhere in the world. Some crazy trying to get on an airline shooting.
Okay, very quickly. You want to we discussed this before the show. Okay, while Hank's getting this out, check this out. It's amazing. You cannot believe every single day things are going on that you don't know anything about. He has his finger on the pulse of all this is happening. Get a load of this. Give us a couple of
quickly,
things. Dates.
In April 1st in Virginia at Dulles Airport, which is where one of the airplanes was hijacked, a 45-year-old female United Airlines flight attendant turned herself in because she had been carrying a gun on board an airplane from Atlanta. It's unclear how she managed to bring the firearm aboard. We don't know. In Germany, a woman was shot and killed by a male assailant standing in line to check in for a flight. He walked in and shot her. He arrested him in the parking lot. In Jordan, which is an Arab country but friendly to the United States and one of our base of operations there, a military court convicted 3 people of plotting to attack the main airport, Queen Alia. They were going to have a bomb inside a child's toy, and they were going to detonate it in the terminal to kill as many people as possible. An Iraqi and a Libyan were given life sentences with hard labor, the rest of their lives. And 3 other men were convicted and given life sentences, but they haven't captured them. They're on the list. They're gone.
Now,
This happens.
Cyprus, what's the date? What's
India.
the date?
This is just the first 2 days in April.
First 2 days in April, this is what's happened.
In Maryland, at BWI, which is, Baltimore, Washington, the baggage claim area was evacuated after a milk jug filled with an unknown reddish liquid was found on the curb. The fire department, the Maryland Department of Environmental Protection, grabbed the bottle, tested it, it was okay. So to answer your question, we're doing a lot. All these incidents are reported.
This is all in April.
This is April and into May. And Cuba, 2 Army Cuban deserters with AK-47s tried to hijack a plane to escape to the United States. They got them off. But every day.
Why don't they just buy a ticket?
Women triggered an alarm in Nebraska. They evacuated the whole airport. In Israel, at Ben Gurion Airport, air traffic was stopped twice because pirate radio stations were interfering with air traffic controls. In the past, they blocked airline transmissions so they can't land or take off. Now, every day, Missouri, Botswana, Uganda, Belgium, Moldova, Niger, Georgia in the United States, Scotland, Papua New Guinea, on and on and on. We're on alert. That's the good news. Okay. Could it happen again? As someone in Homeland Security said, they only have to be successful once. Okay. We have to be successful 100% of the time.
Right.
And I think this country is doing a great job with all the criticism and all the warts and so forth. Think about how many 2 million people, almost 2 million people a day are in the air over the United States. 2 million people fly every day.
That's amazing. Do you feel we're safer today than we were on Labor Day 2001?
Unfortunately, no.
Is flying safer?
Yes, much safer.
But we're not safer.
Personally, a dirty bomb could affect a lot of us, and there are a lot of little nukes missing from Russia and other countries after the Soviet Union fell apart.
That's right.
This is one of the things that Saddam Hussein was said to have. There's a Laurie Garrett, who was Newsday's a Newsday reporter and book author, who is a very authoritative source. She's now with the Council on Foreign Affairs. Spent pages in her last book about risk, about what Saddam Hussein had bought from different people. That's all missing. We never found any of that. So before we fault the government for acting on intelligence, there was intelligence out there that this character had germ warfare and was trying to get his arms around nuclear, because you can get small nuclear bombs. We don't know if he got them, and we don't know where they went if he did get them. Mm-hmm. Are they in Syria? Are they in Iran? Are they with renegade forces in Africa? We don't know.
Let's take one last thing on this global thing, and then let's bring this home so people can understand, because you've got some great resources here that I want to bring out. What is the nature of terror threats to the United States? What exactly, what form does it take itself to the United States, to people in Europe, to the world, to us as individuals? What is it that, my buddy who's watching us right now, he's thinking, what's going to happen to me? I go to work every day. What do I have to be afraid of? What do we have to be afraid of?
Well, there are terror threats, people who would like to harm us, that are most important for us to look at as a society and to decide. We pride ourselves on being an open society, democratic. Mm-hmm. Each of us is equal in the eyes of the law and should be equal to all of our friends and those who don't know us and so forth. So if you have an open society, how do you restrict travel? Where are the limits on privacy? What about cyber attacks? So what kind of threats are there? Well, we have an open water system in New York City. You think about it. Lakes all over the Catskills pump water down. So somebody goes and puts something in the water. Entirely possible. Not so probable anymore. September 10th, 2001, somebody could have walked up and dumped it in. Today there are patrols. There are all kinds of precautions. We don't talk about this, but there are all kinds of precautions.
Is the water, as it's coming down from the Catskills, and it's going into people's sinks, is there some kind of a filter or somebody constantly testing that an alarm should go off?
There are tests. There are tests, and think about the volume of the water. Huge. It dilutes pretty much anything that's coming down. But we had anthrax attacks on government officials. The Congress was evacuated.
Yes.
People died. A guy in Florida, a publication opened it up and died. We never did catch that fellow, whoever did, or multiple fellows.
Right.
So one precaution that you could take is if you don't know where the package came from, if it arrives at home or the office, check it out. Maybe not open it. And maybe call the police if you think it's really suspicious. A friend of mine who I worked with 25 years ago was the Mad Bomber blew him up in his kitchen in New Jersey. The Mad Bomber Kaczynski was looking through directories of who handled what, and he didn't like the companies that this fellow, who was a CEO of a unit of a company, was handling, that his staff were doing communications for them. And he mailed this guy, Tom, a package which on a Saturday morning with his family in the house, he opened up and it decapitated him.
Oh, my God.
That's the Mad Bomber. Now, these things could happen, so we need to be on guard. So everyone watching today, think about what comes in the mail, an envelope that's suspicious. Think of it as suspicious. Look at your packages. If you have a small business or if you work in a larger business, like, let's say, Cablevision, is your mailroom prepared to set aside a package or a box or a thick envelope that you may not know what it is? I mean, that's a simple precaution to take.
Right. Okay. Let's go into some of the books, and you brought some props. Start off with book, and let's talk about it. Let me hold this up.
Okay.
Here's a book by Stephen Flynn, The Edge of Disaster. See if we can get this in there. Talk to me about this book, Hank.
Stephen Flynn is a retired Coast Guard officer who knows everything about port safety, that is, seaports.
Right. Not vintage port.
Not vintage port. He probably likes vintage port, being a Coast Guard officer.
Okay. That's for another show.
Okay. He has, in this book, I recommend this for everyone to read, he talks about this is last year, where are we, and what do we need to do to protect ourselves? For Long Islanders, one of the things he points out that, these are my words, it is insane for us to be seriously considering a liquefied natural gas, LNG platform in the middle of Long Island Sound, where huge ships would come into Long Island Sound around the Plum Gut and Greenport. Everything would stop as they go by. So now what do we do with fishermen and others who depend on the Sound for a living? Pleasure boating. They would come down to this platform of Wading River and unload natural gas, which is under tremendous pressure, that's brought from overseas.
Oh, my God.
And yes, we do need more energy. No, we do not need a liquefied natural gas platform in the middle of Long Island Sound, which if explodes, will take out every window on the East End. From Huntington East, there'll be no windows left. Not exaggerating. There is one at the entrance to Boston Harbor, which he points out. These big ships go over all the time, right next to the airport, within reach of 250,000 people who could be harmed, and over the tunnel out to the airports. What happens if one of these goes off? I think there are 2 a day arriving, or 2 a week. I forget now. So this guy's book should be read because it tells us how to harden individually, collectively in our business, and as a people and as a government, how we can harden our facilities to at least reduce the risk that are posed to us by potential terror attacks.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. You have another book that he wrote.
That's his previous book that I hope people read, but that doesn't seem to be because he wrote another book. So that's 3 years earlier. How our government is failing to protect us from terrorism.
Interesting.
These books are well worth reading.
Wow. Interesting.
If you want to know more.
Okay. Thank you very much in this book.
Okay.
Let's see. What else do you have there?
Now, just to say, do we listen to these things? Here's a terrific book.
Oh, this is amazing you discussed this. Say as much as you want to say. Go ahead. We're on TV
I'll be
now.
Careful with this.
No, you have to be careful. Say whatever
you.
I mean, come on.
The Office of Technology Assessment, OTA, was one of my favorite think tanks. It
What
was
year?
one of the well, until 1995.
Office of Technology
Assessment.
A
nonpartisan arm of the U.S. government, the Congress, and they looked at what do you do about AIDS? What do you do about TB? What do you do about terrorism? Can we use the technology that this great nation has to protect ourselves against terrorism? And it says in 1988-89 there were a lot of attacks. And so this report says we should do something about it, and they spell out how to use technology against terrorism. It was the second report, the final report. The first one was issued in July 1991, 2001 minus 10.
Mm-hmm.
This one was issued March 1992. What happened? We didn't use the technology that could have screened out the terrorists who got on 4 planes to take them down on 9/11.
So in 1992, there was technology out there that could have assessed and picked up and alerted.
Could have mitigated against what happened. Not totally, perhaps, but it could, because we weren't on guard.
And that technology is still in existence today.
Better,
but not being used for that
the
purpose.
OTA is not around anymore.
This Office of Technology Assessment is not around. And yet it seems to be something that would do an excellent job.
Yes.
Why is it not around anymore?
Because politically, the Republican Congress under Newt Gingrich targeted them in his contract with America as one of the number one targets. And one of his first acts in the new speaker was to put them out of business because they didn't always agree with some of the vested interests, corporate and otherwise, who had things that they wanted to do. This is my assessment of it. I followed this. I have a bookshelf of their reports, and I still read them because they're so well done. But so this warning from Stephen Flynn: do we have enough? Do we have the political will? That's what every person watching the show today should ask: town, county, state, federal government. Do we have the political will? And do we have the resources? We do have the resources, but there's no free lunch. We have to support the politicians who will commit the financial and other resources to get something done. And we don't always do that.
Just absolutely fascinating. So we have the ability, but we may not have the political will to do it.
And financial will.
And financial will. Okay.
Okay.
Keep going. Next thing.
Now,
I'm thumbing through this, and I can't believe it, all the things I'm seeing in here. My eyes are popping out of my head.
Have you read
unbelievable.
Have you read the report of the 9/11
Yes.
Commission?
Yes, I did.
Everyone should read that.
Yes,
I don't have it with
I
me.
did. There's two copies.
It's almost
There's
a novel.
The original. That's right. It's almost a novel. There's one that's the thick book.
Yes.
Then somebody turned the whole thing into a comic book.
Right.
And the comic book, frankly, if you don't have the desire to read all the big book, the comic book tells you the gist of everything, and at least you have a good understanding of what happened.
Right. Now, there are other threats. Here's a book.
Yeah.
This is a great little book. I keep telling you to get this.
This is great.
Everybody should get this. A little book. It's at Barnes & Noble or Amazon or wherever you shop, Borders. It's a paperback. It's written by a guy in New York.
Philip Tierno, a PhD.
Yeah.
He helped solve the mystery behind toxic shock syndrome. He's the director of clinical microbiology and immunology at New York University Medical Center and is a member of the NYU Faculty School of Medicine, and he's been on all these other shows. It's not been on mine. But anyway, go ahead.
This book will help everyone who has kids, family situation, office, travel, how to get rid of germs, how to protect yourself against germs, what to do if there's a pandemic with a flu, how to treat West Nile, how to avoid mosquitoes, etc. It is a fantastic book. This man did a great public service by writing this book with a goofy title, The Secret Life of Germs.
It's a good title. I'm going to get this book.
But it is Secret Life because we never think about germs, washing our hands and
absolutely.
protecting ourselves while traveling. And so
absolutely. Rule of thumb is when you wash your hands, they say sing or hum Yankee Doodle or the Twinkle Twinkle because you need 20 seconds. That song takes about 20 seconds because you need to wash your hands for 20 seconds to get the germs off.
Simple.
You can't just go in there and do a blessing, It won't work that way. You're not.
So this is part of arming yourself with information to protect yourself against worst-case scenarios.
Get this out.
Okay.
Get this out.
Now, I'm going to cover this because I don't want the company if you could zero in on this. This is a little kit.
Little fanny pack.
We put this together. It's a fanny pack for a company. There are 45,000 of these in use now. Okay, I'm going to turn it.
Turn it around and then
Okay.
just take a. So this is what someone would have if they're
A
at
smoke
work.
mask if you're in a building and you got to get out. It's not going to take toxic dust would stop.
Would it stop asbestos?
Put this on quick to get down the stairs. While you're going down the stairs.
Would it stop asbestos?
Oh,
You're not sure?
they're very tiny. That's the problem with asbestos. They're
Okay.
They're micronic.
Yeah.
Take the flashlight with you.
Okay.
Okay. By
Little
all
kit for
means,
everybody to have.
by all means, take the whistle with you, because you may have debris underneath. There's some water in here. There's a first aid kit, towelettes. There's water. There's a little smoke blanket, survival blanket. If there's
Put it
heat,
over
you
you.
can pull it over you, right?
Wow.
Protect yourself.
Wow.
There's a water supply here for 2 days. Purified water.
Look at this. Unbelievable.
2 days in case you're stuck. There's a little card with all the emergency numbers that you should have in your building if you work on a high rise.
Wow.
Who is the building number, the 911 number, the emergency, the fire department? Who do you have to get in touch with at home? Because in a panic situation, you're not
right.
going to think of this.
Yeah,
And this
people
little fanny
we're too
pack
complacent.
can be kept on your body when
Right.
you're going down or on your desk. All this works. It's very simple.
It's amazing. Okay, let's
First
put
aid
this
kit.
back in because we
Okay.
got more to talk about. And also, you've got this book here that you're buying this for your clients,
Right.
And that you
And
can
family.
You buy this and you can just. This is a terrific survival book. I open up. What do we see about weapons of mass destruction? Everything, and you're gonna
bee
hand
bites,
this out.
Insect bites.
Insect bites, everything in here. After an earthquake, what to do with sanitation, clothing and bedding, food, first aid kits, winter storms, nuclear power plants, ear infections, everything, burns. And you're going to
Great
hand this
book.
out to your clients. I am going to speak to you because I want to get this for my patients as well and hand this out.
I'll hold it up so they can see it.
Take a look at this
It's
book.
a disaster. But the books like this are in every bookstore.
Right.
American Red Cross puts out books. The Salvation Army, Homeland Security. There's a ton of information. What I'm hoping to do with this program is to raise the awareness of folks watching.
To be aware.
Start thinking.
Hank, we got a minute left.
Okay.
You're definitely coming back, but you got a minute left. And in that minute, what is the purpose of today's show? To let people at home know?
Think about risk, because risk is all around us. There's personal risk to me, to you, to our families, risk to our neighborhood, risk to our city, New York City certainly, risk here in Nassau and Suffolk if they build the LNG platform, risk from a hurricane, which probably will come through. There's risk to our country because we're a target around the world. Americans everywhere. If you travel, you should think of yourselves the way the Israelis think of themselves, as combatants or potential combatants, because the American flag is not revered in every country anymore. The enemies of the Western world, of civilization, of our democracy have targeted us. They're still targeting us.
Absolutely.
So think that way. Think defensively. Make a worst case list.
Be vigilant.
Be vigilant everywhere.
Be vigilant.
Your surroundings,
And
wherever
be
you are.
prepared.
Right.
Be vigilant. Be prepared.
And prepare your kids. Think about cyber crimes
Right, about kids
online,
being-
and what are your kids watching?
We're out of time.
Okay.
Hank Boerner.
Great being with you.
I love talking to you. Always love talking to you. Terrific. And you'll come back and we'll go over some more stuff and we'll get into some details. Okay. I told you this was going to be an exciting show. A lot of stuff. Okay. Can't talk anymore. Got to go. Used up all the time. Dr. Pass is saying, whatever you do, just like Hank Boerner and the way he thinks, show passion. Otherwise, what does it matter? Again, see you the next time. Be prepared.
Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts. Terrific.